There comes a point when failure isn't the problem, it's the symptom. You keep thinking you're broken, that maybe you're not good enough, smart enough, disciplined enough. But what if the truth is simpler and more terrifying? What if you're not failing because of weakness, but because you're walking in a direction that was never yours to begin with? Alignment isn't some new age idea. It's the razor-sharp line between force and flow, between exhaustion and power. You can hustle, grind, outwork the world, but if you're climbing the wrong mountain, all you'll find at the top is emptiness. Alignment is not about ease, it's about essence. It's when your thoughts, your actions, your purpose, your habits all point in the same direction, not just any direction, but the one your soul was built to walk. And when they don't, life becomes friction, heavy, foggy. You wake up tired no matter how long you slept. You take action, but it leads nowhere. You chase dreams, but they're not yours. They're hand-me-down goals, programmed desires, echoes of someone else's vision. You call it failure, but it's misalignment. A compass off by 1 degree will lead you hundreds of miles off course, and so will a life built on shoulds instead of musts. You think the pain is punishment. It's not. It's a signal. A flashing red light screaming, you were meant for something more, but you're stuck in something less, not because you're lazy, not because you're unworthy, but because you've never been taught to listen to yourself louder than you listen to the world. The world told you to be realistic, to be practical, to choose safety over calling. And somewhere along the way, you traded authenticity for approval, and now you wonder why you feel lost. Alignment begins when you get brutally honest with yourself, when you stop negotiating with your potential and start honoring it. It begins when you stop trying to fix what was never broken and start building what's always been waiting inside you. True success isn't built by trying harder at what doesn't work. It's built by becoming who you were meant to be, without apology, without distraction, without delay. You don't need more time. You don't need more motivation. You need truth. You need direction. You need alignment. Because when you align, your vision clears, your energy returns, your results multiply, and success, real success, stops being a battle and becomes a rhythm. You're not failing. You're not too late. You're not lost. You're just not aligned yet. But the moment you are, everything changes. Not because the world suddenly gets easier, but because you finally start walking the path that was always yours to claim. You were not born to be a follower of systems that suffocate your soul. You were not designed to shrink yourself to fit someone else's blueprint. Alignment means knowing your mission so clearly, so unshakably, that you no longer beg the world for permission to move. You lead yourself, and the world follows. That's the quiet power of someone who is aligned. They don't force their way into success. They become so centered, so clear, so congruent that success gravitates toward them like iron to a magnet. Alignment is the internal compass that overrides circumstance, that transcends opinion, that silences fear, not because fear disappears, but because clarity speaks louder. But let's be honest, clarity does not arrive by accident. It is cultivated, it is carved. You earn clarity the same way you earn muscle, through repetition, through resistance, through deliberate effort. You don't align by thinking harder, you align by listening deeper. You have to tune out the world's noise and tune into your own signal, your own frequency. Because your life can't soar if it's built on signals that were never meant for you. And that's why most people fail, not because they lack potential, but because they've been running someone else's race in someone else's lane, chasing someone else's version of enough. Alignment demands courage. The courage to say no to what's almost right, to what looks good on paper, to what keeps you busy but empty. It demands discipline, not the punishment kind, but the sacred kind. The kind that says, I will not abandon myself today. When you are aligned, your habits match your highest vision, your choices reflect your core values, and your life, it begins to feel like truth in motion. You stop needing validation because your results begin to speak in volumes your words never could. But you must understand this. Action without alignment is just movement without meaning. And in a world that worships hustle, very few are actually headed anywhere that matters. That's why the aligned win. They move slower, but they hit deeper. They're not spread thin, chasing every distraction. They're grounded, intentional, precise. Their success is not loud, it's inevitable. And that kind of power is not something you stumble into, it's something you build one aligned decision at a time. So study your life like a map. Every frustration, every misstep, every tired morning is trying to tell you something. It's not shouting you're failing, it's whispering you're off course. Adjust, refine, return. And when you do, even chaos becomes clarity. Even setbacks become signals. That's the art of alignment. It doesn't avoid resistance, it transforms it. And in that transformation, you'll realize you never needed to be more. You only needed to become more you. Alignment is not about luck, and it is never about waiting. It's about positioning. Those who rise do not stumble into greatness, they build themselves into it. And when you trace back the origin of anyone who has created something meaningful, something lasting, you'll find not accidents, not shortcuts, but alignment in action. You'll find a person who made a decision sometimes in silence, sometimes in chaos, but always with conviction. They did not beg for results, they aligned with them. They tuned their habits, their thoughts, their vision to the same frequency, and the universe answered with results. Don't envy those who have what you want, observe them. Study the patterns behind their power. You'll see discipline where others indulge distraction. You'll find precision where others drifted in confusion. You'll see a mind that chose clarity over comfort, purpose over popularity. The world might call them lucky, but luck is just the shadow cast by alignment. And while others float through life reacting, the aligned move with fierce intent. They don't wait for momentum, they manufacture it. You see, you don't attract what you want, you attract what you are in harmony with. And most people aren't failing because they lack talent, they're failing because their rituals contradict their vision. They dream of abundance, but live in scarcity. They speak of discipline, but entertain distraction. You cannot harvest what you've never sown, and you cannot sow without intention. Alignment is that intention. It's the internal contract between who you are and who you're becoming. And that contract is renewed daily through your habits, your choices, your response to resistance. Because thought alone changes nothing. It must move. It must breathe. It must become behavior. Alignment without action is a wish. Action without alignment is a waste. But when the two unite, when clarity fuels commitment and commitment becomes motion, you stop chasing change and start becoming it. You move differently. You walk into rooms with quiet certainty. You build momentum not from hype, but from consistency. That's where the shift begins, not in a motivational surge, but in the stillness of discipline, the 5 a.m. alarm, the focused hour of deep work, the conscious breath before you react, the refusal to be ruled by mood but guided by mission. Because when no one's watching, that's when alignment is tested. That's when character is forged. And those private victories, those invisible battles, that's where your public legacy is born. Look around your life. The chaos outside is often a reflection of confusion inside. Your finances echo your habits. Your relationships mirror your emotional patterns. Your opportunities reflect your preparation. The world isn't withholding, it's responding. And if you don't like the feedback, change the signal. You don't fix the mirror by blaming it, you fix it by changing the reflection. And that reflection starts with the self you choose to become. You cannot align with greatness while operating from patterns of avoidance. You cannot speak of growth while feeding stagnation. You cannot demand excellence while accepting your excuses. Alignment is not a declaration, it's a demonstration. It's in your mornings. It's in your choices when no one claps. It's in what you do with boredom, with discomfort, with delay. And when you master that space, when your actions finally reflect the life you say you want, you don't have to chase success anymore. It will know exactly where to find you. You cannot walk into alignment carrying the weight of contradiction. You say you want transformation, but you entertain the very patterns that delay it. You speak of freedom while submitting to impulse. You dream of impact, but practice inconsistency. You crave greatness, but your rituals still flirt with mediocrity. And the truth is simple. You will never rise higher than the habits you tolerate. You can't vibrate at the frequency of excellence while echoing the energy of avoidance. Alignment is not a feeling, it's a frequency, and your habits are the transmitter. To live aligned is to live awake. It is to replace passive wishing with aggressive willingness. It is the refusal to let moods dictate mission. Willpower is not reserved for the chosen. It is built, like calluses, through repetition, resistance, and recovery. It's the choice to rise at 5 a.m. when comfort begs you to stay in bed. It's the decision to keep your word when no one is watching. It's the inner discipline to say no to what feels good now so you can say yes to what feels right later. Alignment does not scream, it whispers, and only the discipline can hear it through the noise. Most people don't lack intelligence, they lack authority over themselves. They surrender their subconscious to junk and wonder why their life plays on a broken loop. They affirm fear through their language, anxiety through their images, weakness through their choices. But the subconscious is not your enemy, it's your amplifier. And if you want it to play a different tune, you must program a different song. Speak with intention, visualize with emotion, move with belief. Rewire the mind, not with hope, but with consistency. Act as if your vision is already moving toward you, because it is. But only if you're aligned. Only if you meet that vision with the same energy it demands. Gratitude is not a reaction to the result. It is the posture of those who understand that alignment precedes arrival. Those who are aligned don't wait to be thankful. They become thankfulness in motion. They wake up each day not with doubt, but with declaration. I am already on the frequency of my future. This is the real magnetism, not force, not fear, but certainty. And gratitude is the voltage. It turns invisible belief into visible momentum. But make no mistake, life will test that alignment. It will poke every weakness, shake every loose foundation, magnify every hidden inconsistency, not to destroy you, but to refine you. The challenge is not a detour, it is the proof. It is the fire that checks your structure, your commitment, your depth. Because anyone can speak like they're aligned when life is quiet. But true alignment is measured in the storm. Will you collapse under pressure, or will you rise with clarity? Will you react from fear or respond from vision? Will you betray your alignment for comfort, or will you protect it with discipline? The answers to those questions are not found in your mouth, they're found in your movement, because alignment is not what you say, it's what you live. The obstacles in your way aren't mistakes, they're mirrors. They don't block your path, they reveal it. Each challenge is a carefully crafted invitation to rise, not to react, but to respond. Not to shrink, but to remember who you are. Alignment is not proven in your comfort, it's tested in your chaos. It's when the winds pick up and the ground shakes that you see whether your foundation was built on intention or illusion. Because storms don't destroy the aligned, they reveal them. The storm doesn't ask you for your resume, it demands your resilience. Will you fold, or will you find your footing? Will you question your worth, or will you anchor in your identity? Resilience isn't bouncing back. It's expanding through the blow. It's standing taller after each fall, not out of arrogance, but out of alignment. It's realizing that the setback wasn't a rejection, it was a redirection, it was data, it was refinement. Abraham Lincoln didn't become a legend because he won quickly. He became one because he didn't break when everything told him to quit. His greatness wasn't built on success, it was built on structure, on internal power, on alignment so deep that external defeat only sharpened it. That's what you must build, that quiet resolve, that fierce softness, that unshakable identity rooted in who you've chosen to become. Because the world doesn't honor your intentions, it responds to your embodiment. And if you want to reach heights you've never seen, you must become someone you've never been. That means adaptability. That means surrendering the comfort of what was for, the alignment of what could be. You must evolve. Let go of the outdated versions of you that no longer carry the weight of your next chapter. Your old story is not your sentence. Your past is not your prison. Reinvention is not betrayal, it's alignment in motion. The rich don't cling, they pivot. They don't resist change, they create it. They understand that identity is fluid and power is in progress. When the economy shifts, they recalibrate. When the rules change, they rewrite them. Because they are not loyal to how things were, they are loyal to who they're becoming. And you must be too. You must be more devoted to your future than you are addicted to your past. More committed to your alignment than your approval, more loyal to your mission than your memories. Because wealth is not a number, it's a decision. A decision to live with discipline, to think with clarity, to move with certainty. Riches are not something you chase. They are the consequence of becoming someone the universe trusts with abundance. And that trust is earned in silence, in solitude, in the moments when no one is clapping, but you keep building anyway. That's when the shift happens. Not when the world changes, but when you do. And suddenly everything gets quiet. Not because life got easier, but because you did. Your thoughts no longer run wild. Your emotions no longer hijack your momentum. Your actions no longer sabotage your vision. You are no longer pulled in 1,000 directions. You are one, focused, aligned, intentional. And in that moment, when the noise fades and the storm passes, you realize you haven't just survived, you've become. And that stillness, that centered power, that internal alignment, that is the gateway, the door that opens not just to money, but to meaning, not just to success, but to self-respect, not just to fortune, but to fulfillment. Because you don't just want to be rich, you want to be whole. And that wholeness begins not when the world says yes, but when you do. This is the truth no one tells you. Alignment is not a moment, it's a method, a structure, a science. The same science that Andrew Carnegie whispered into the mind of Napoleon Hill, the science of saturation, of repetition so intense, so deliberate, so unwavering that the idea is no longer something you think about, it's who you become. Alignment is not achieved by accident. It is installed through obsession, through daily devotion to who you are becoming. You don't program your mind once you do it until the old identity no longer fits, until the dream feels more familiar than the doubt, until execution becomes second nature. That's the work most avoid, the invisible labor, the rewiring, the refinement, the inner engineering of a life that doesn't just look aligned but feels aligned. Because true power isn't loud, it doesn't chase, it doesn't seek applause. It sharpens itself in solitude. It multiplies in silence. The aligned don't wait for belief. They build it brick by brick, action by action, hour by invisible hour. While others are busy reacting to life, the aligned are rehearsing their future into reality. Control your thoughts, or they will colonize you. Discipline your actions, or they will sabotage you. Align your beliefs with your behaviors, or your destiny will fracture at the seams. Talent may give you a head start, but alignment determines if you finish. Thomas Edison wasn't chosen by fate. He chose himself 10,000 times. He didn't cry at failure. He recalibrated. That is alignment in motion, not perfection, but persistence paired with purpose. That is the kind of inner fire that melts delay, breaks through limitation, and lights the way in the dark. You don't become wealthy by chance. You become wealthy by alignment, by consistency in the moments that don't reward you, by discipline in the moments that tempt you, and by vision in the moments that would break most people. Every single time you choose responsibility over reaction, every time you say yes to growth and no to comfort, every time you move in the direction of your higher self, you earn the right to carry the weight of abundance. Because wealth, real wealth, does not flow to the one who wishes, it flows to the one who is ready. It answers the one who has built the container, who has raised the standard, who has tuned every thought, habit, and behavior to the frequency of their future. That's why you're not here to blend in. You're here to build what no one else sees yet, to command your mind like a conductor leads a symphony, to quiet the noise, eliminate the excuses, and carve your vision into reality, not with force, but with alignment, not through luck, but through law. The law of consistency, the law of identity, the law of repetition. Because repetition is not just a technique, it is the architecture of transformation. You do not become your highest self by inspiration, you become it by installation. By flooding your mind with what matters until there is no room for what doesn't, until the goal no longer feels foreign but familiar, until success is not a hope but a pattern. That is not magic. That is neuroscience. That is alignment becoming embodiment. So no, you are not failing. You were simply not aligned. But now you've remembered who you are. You've reclaimed the pen. You've redrawn the blueprint. And when that alignment locks in, When your mind, your emotions, your actions, and your vision move as one, you don't force success. You attract it, you become it, you prove it. And the world will not be able to look away, not because you shouted, but because you aligned.